This is the Tabernacle podcast with a very special guest on a very historic Tabernacle podcast. It's the first time we've gone remote from the dungeon. We've done podcasts remote before where we've gone off site. A gentleman by the name of Britton Bishop, who founded this podcast for us, has done off-site podcasts. But the dream has been to be able to actually bring in a guest who is not present here in Northern Michigan. And so it just seemed fitting that our first cosmonaut, our first guinea pig, the first one that we would try this out on would be, in fact, the man, the myth, the legend, Britton Bishop. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome back.
What's up? Yeah, this is cool. I love it.
Where are you right now?
I am sitting in my office in Tulsa, Oklahoma on a dreary Northern Michigan day. It's like 60 something out there, raining, kind of gross.
A little bit.
So,
but
living the dream.
It's not dreary where you're at. I'm looking at sunshine. It looks like a desert out there.
No, that's clouds out there.
Clouds, just a little
nice
bit.
And cloudy. Just got a nice little green tree, you know.
So you're low man on the totem pole at Church on the Move, and that's your office.
Yes.
You know
as low as they get.
You know what I'm about to say. The Northern Michigan, I love you. Ready? Must be nice. Must be nice.
I think I heard a guy talk about that in a sermon, about that being like one of the greatest sins people. I don't remember who said it. Might have been John from Million.
Yeah, it was probably me. Come on, man. I just played.
It was
so
right when
good
you got
to
back
see
from
you.
Florida.
Well, you look like $1 million, and you're sitting in your office, and we have our executive producer here, Matt Hughes, who's worked very hard to make it happen.
Hughes.
Lord Matthew
Love
Corey Hughes. Yeah. So, Britton, give us an update, man. What's up? Like, what's up with you and Hope? Where you living? What are you doing? Just for those that are just joining our podcast, Britton was on our staff for 3 years, 4, I can't remember. It felt like forever. He's part of the Tab family. And then God led him to be a part of Church on the Move. What are you doing there, and how's Hope doing, more importantly?
Yeah, so still doing student ministry out here at Church on the Move, just figuring it out every day. Seems like still drinking through the fire hydrant, but I think I've been doing that for 8 years, so that might just be a lifestyle at this point. Hope's doing well. She works at the event center in downtown Tulsa. So as you guys know, my wife only has jobs that benefit me, it seems like. So getting don't get free golf, but I get free concerts. So we'll take it.
Free concert. Because she's at the event center, you can get like whatever.
Yeah. So I'm going, boy, this fall I've got Whiskey Myers, Billy Strings, Zach Bryan, Oklahoma City Thunder. Yeah. I mean, we're rocking.
Okay. So when you said Whiskey Myers, I got a little pang of nostalgia. Yeah. Matt, did you get it too? Lord Matthew Corey Hughes? Yeah. So was it last year? Was it last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 years, yeah.
Matt Hughes and Britton had a plan with one other person to go to see Whiskey Myers and Rival Sons.
Who won't be named on this podcast.
Yeah, whoever it was. He was lame and he bailed out. And so I got the big call up. And so I got to see them. Yeah. Oh, was it Adam Sharp? So lame.
Yeah, that guy sucks.
Yeah. Dude, but it paid off for me. He is the whole bishop in my life. In that moment, it paid off for me. Yeah. So Hope's doing well.
Yeah, she's doing well. She's doing good. She has friends, which is cool. I remember like we first moved here and I was like, hey, what are we doing for lunch after church? And she was like, oh, I'm going to brunch with some of my friends. And I was like, you don't have friends? She's like, no, I have friends. And so
nice.
She has more friends than I do. And I grew up here. So I think it's a lot of telling for me. People don't want to hang out. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's rocking.
Dude, that almost became counseling.
She beat me at fantasy football last week.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So she's still dominating all the boys in fantasy football. So yeah, she's living her best life out here. Dog's doing good.
Yeah, I was going to say, how's Chief?
He's good. He hates the heat. I think he misses the old Michigan fall, but it is what it is.
It's good for him. So
yeah, it is.
One other thing, you mentioned golf.
Oh, sorry. One more update before we get into that.
Yeah.
This is something that I'm proud of. I am now a signature member at Chick-fil-A.
Signature member. Hey,
I've made it.
Well done. There was a poignant moment because we talk and text quite often. And when you were calling me that one time and I was like, sorry, man, I'm in a meeting. And then you were like, I just wanted to know if you tried the banana shake. And I was like, I all of a sudden was not in the meeting going, yes, it's amazing. Your take on the banana shake, because we still have Chick-fil-A here.
Yeah. I think it's good the first time, but I don't think you can't drink it as much as you can drink the peach shake.
That's probably accurate. That's probably
And the
accurate.
little, I don't like
think it's
anything that
good.
stops the straw up.
Oh, you don't like the little cookie wafers in it? Oh, it's legit.
But if they put Oreos in that thing,
Oreos and
on
banana
this week's
shake?
episode of My 600-Pound Life, let's go.
No, I was going to ask you, are you still getting after the golf?
Yes, trying to.
And you're enjoying
don't play as, yeah, it's not free anymore. So Hope knows how much it cost. I kind of allured her for a while because she didn't know how much golf actually costs. So now I'm on the Golf Now grind, just finding the cheapest course.
Oh, you're on
get
a
some
golf
free ones
budget.
every now and then.
You're on a golf budget
Yeah.
now? Okay.
Yep, but doing good. Scramble a lot.
Well, Jones and I miss you. We would love for you to come back.
Oh, Ryan Jones.
Well, next time you're back, if you'll bring your clubs, we'll get out to Crystal. But this is more than just hello, what's up? We also, of course, on the podcast, you know how we roll. You and I made zero plan for this podcast, except for the 5 minutes we were offline. But I want to find out first, personally, and I don't mean this in a patronizing way or a false flattery way. One of the things that Britton brought to our church, you brought to our staff, you brought to me personally, is your passion for Jesus Christ and His Word was infectious. I remember that when we first hired you, that was one of the immediate things that I found people on our staff. When you're around, it was like, we're not playing. We're getting after it. Not that other members of our staff weren't, but you were a leader that way. And so many times we can learn from each other. And so we haven't had you on the podcast for a while. I wanted to start out with what are some things that God is teaching you right now or that you are learning about Christ right now that you feel comfortable just sharing as a way of encouragement or even teaching with us? What's God teaching you?
Yeah, I think currently just some of the stuff that He's just been like preparing in me and developing, just kind of, I'm on like a kind of formational type journey, not in a weird way, but just kind of the phrase that I would put to it would be like, you're not going to be used in public until you let me form you in private. And so I've just been kind of, I don't know, the parable of the virgins with the oil in their lamps, and the 5 go away and the 5 are there, and then the 5 show back up and they're like, well, just let us have some of yours. And they're like, no, you're not getting any of mine. And I think there's just this aspect that you can't borrow other people's preparedness. Ooh. And so there's an aspect in just the Christian walk that so often we're just trying to borrow somebody else's time that they've spent with Jesus, right? I come to church on Sunday so that I can hear what John had to say about his time with Jesus this week, so that I can shortcut me having to actually spend any of that time with Jesus. And it plays in ministry leadership as well. And so I think that's been the biggest aspect, is just like, where am I allowing Jesus to form me personally? And so there's a lot. I mean, Hope and I are in a 30-week class right now, just going through the whole Bible in 30 weeks in like a classroom setting with homework, and we're writing papers and doing all that stuff. I'm on kind of a journey through some seminary stuff, but all of that.
So you're doing that 30-week class with Hope and you're doing seminary?
Yeah.
This is definitely a guy that doesn't have kids yet. That's impressive.
No.
That's impressive.
Yeah, no kids, and I can barely read. But I think for us, we just got to a place, we've always struggled with like our quiet times, like, for lack of a better term, like coexisting. Like, what does it look like for her to have like her time with Jesus and me to have my time with Jesus? And we just learn like so differently, because I'm ADD through the walls. Like, I need music on and I need multiple things going at once when I'm spending time with Jesus, and she needs like dead quiet, nobody talking, nobody moving. So every time we tried to read our Bibles together, we just get in a fight because I'm like making noises.
You're
and
reading
all this stuff.
The Word of God, and it's impacting your marriage negatively.
Right. And so it was like, okay, so how do we do this? And this class has been really cool for us, because just like the other day we read Genesis 2, like 1 through 27, and we had to write 20 questions we had from that. And so it was cool just to hear, like, what are the questions you have as you're reading scripture? What are the things that God's pulling kind of out of you, or that you're kind of wanting to know more about? So it's just been fun in that way. There's like 100 people in the class, but we sit at the table together, go every Tuesday night. We have we both will get home from work, eat Chick-fil-A, and then go to class together. So that's kind of our Tuesday night little rhythm we got going. So it's been fun, but I think that's the biggest piece that I've learned here. And I made the joke about drinking from the fire hydrant at the beginning, but like, the more I get prepared the more Jesus will use that preparedness. Like he's not going to waste that time. And so I think often in the name of productivity, people will forego their personal relationship with Jesus, especially when it comes to ministry. This is more, I think, specifically to that. So it's like, I just got to get crap done. And for me, it's like, no, these things matter a lot. And so trying to spend that time, not trying to borrow other people's oil, but instead fill up my own lamp and be ready for whatever that looks like.
No,
I don't
that's
know if
really
that
cool.
really answers it. Yeah.
No, it does. And it's interesting because as you say that, I wonder how many married couples with kids or without kids have struggled the same way because they learn different, or one gets up early, one doesn't have to, or one stays up late because they get back from work late, and then they just don't ever try.
Yep.
You know, for Darcy and I, just this past year, 2024, I got a copy of a simple devotional book. It doesn't matter. It was highly recommended to me, and so I tried it out. I think it's new. Well, I know it's New Morning Mercies by Paul David Tripp.
Yeah, that's one Hope reads every day.
Yeah, and it's all about grace. And the dude loves to alliterate, and he always lands on grace and Jesus, and it's pretty powerful. And so I brought it the first time to my wife, and I'm like, hey, you want to let's just do this? And it's called New Morning Mercies, but our morning schedules are so different. We do it at night. So I'm going to cross it out and put New Nightly Mercies, right? And so it's just finding 10 minutes. And she doesn't want to read. She wants me to read it. And so I'll read it out loud, just right in our bedroom while she's winding down for the night. And then we pray together. And not a lot of discussion, and that's okay. And I'm talking to me because my wife's like, listen, you teach and pastor everybody else. Can that not happen here? And so we let Paul David Tripp be our teacher, and then we pray. And that has, in my opinion, it's made our relationship so much stronger. It may not seem like a lot. I'm wondering, has it been powerful? Because you mentioned trying to do it together, you and Hope, and it didn't work. You were getting in fights over God's word. I love it. I mean, I just love the honesty. But do you think it helps that in the class, you're kind of on equal footing? Not that you're not the head of your house and not that she's not a biblical wife, but is it helpful that it's an outside source and you're kind of side by side learning together?
Yeah, it's been good. Like we're both writing a paper right now about it's called the false stories paper. So we're taking one of the false gospels that we find in the culture today, and you essentially just have to write like a defense to that through the lens of the real gospel. And so it'll be interesting. I haven't wrote mine yet. It's due tomorrow, but it'll be interesting how we navigate that stuff and just talking through all of that. If anything, it's just given us something to talk about. And hopefully nobody from the class watches it, but there's the car ride home. You're like, oh man, that guy drives me nuts or whatever.
Hey, every group there's one.
Yes. And it gives us something to talk about, that we're kind of on this journey together. And she's so much smarter than me. Like the way she reads the Bible, the lens, the questions she's asking, all that stuff is I would have had to read 9 commentaries to get to that conclusion. And she's just cranking.
Wow.
And so she's a machine. She's smarter than me. And so that's been fun too, because I'm just taking a bunch of her stuff and saving it for sermons later on. And I will not quote her. But
you just steal it.
We're one.
Yeah. You just steal it. Yeah.
We're one flesh. That was the other day we were in a service. We're in a marriage series at church right now. And he was like, hey, just make sure, as you're listening to this sermon, you're not listening for the person sitting next to you, but you're listening for yourself. And so whatever he does the sermon, we get done, we're leaving, we're talking about something. And she brought up something from the sermon. And I was like, were you listening for me or were you listening for you? And she goes, well, we're one flesh. So I was listening for us both.
Nice. And then you thought and said, that cuts both ways, babe.
Yep.
That's going to cut both ways.
And then I said, yes, ma'am. Yeah. Whatever you want for lunch.
Whatever. So that's probably wise. No, that's cool. And I think that can be super helpful for people. I was just reminded of something that we heard at the Basics Conference, probably from Alistair Begg. It might have been from Herschel York, but remember when he said that God gives pastors wives, if for anything else or for nothing else, is to keep us humble.
Yeah.
Remember that?
100%.
I'm living it every moment of every day. Every moment of every day.
I know.
So next question. What are you learning about ministry right now? Maybe even something that because, you know, Church on the Move is multi-site, but it's multi-site in a different way.
Mhm.
The Tabernacle is multi-site, but the difference between Buckley, Cadillac, and Manistee, I believe all three populations combined is not as big as Tulsa. And so it's not just from smaller towns in northern Michigan to Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's also, okay, the Tabernacle doesn't get to call themselves a small church. We're a large church, but you're now in, and I mean this with affection, a mega church.
Mhm.
Is that so? So, like, what are you learning about ministry? What is the same, and maybe what's different, or what are some new skills you're having to pick up?
Yeah, I think the thing I'm learning is like everyone is forever trying to make big church small. And it was the same thing we were doing at the Tabernacle is how do we get people into community? How do we get people around God's word? How do we get people into relationship with each other? Because I think that Jesus-centered gospel preaching churches, like that's the desire. It's not come and worship our screen or come and worship whoever's speaking. It's get in community around God's word, sit under the teaching of the scriptures. But ultimately, it's man, you were built for relationship, and the church was Jesus's model for that. And so we're going to do everything we can to do that. So it's all just to scale, right? So like we're running the same similar plays that the Tab's running, just a little bit different. We do mid-sized groups, which would be like 100 or so people that sit at a table, similar to how you used to do Fight Club back in the day, where somebody presents and then you talk about it at your table. So, I mean, we're running similar plays in that sense. I think the biggest thing learning-wise for me in ministry world is how much, like, for ministry to truly grow, it takes giving it away. And I think sometimes the temptation in smaller towns where it feels like there's not as many people. I mean, I experienced this in Manistee where there were things that I was doing that I probably shouldn't have been doing. Right. There was somebody in the congregation that could have been doing that better than me. It would have been good for them. It would have grown them. Like they needed a job. You've been doing your job. Then why don't you tell your buddies to rock for blood? Sorry. No, but they need, like, people need something to do. And when you don't give people something to do, they settle for whatever that thing that you're not asking them to do is. So instead of allowing people to settle, how are we creating environments for them to have something to rise to? And so that's been the biggest thing for us is just, based off sheer numbers, we can't hire staff to care for all of that. So we've got to figure out how do we get volunteers and leaders involved in what we're doing. And so that's the biggest aspect. And then as I was just kind of, I mean, you read through the book of Acts and you look at, like, there are times where things are adding, like they added to their numbers, they added to their numbers. And then when they start giving ministry away, you see that things start multiplying. And so I think that there's an aspect to that, like, Jesus's design for this was for pastors, evangelists, all this to equip the saints to do the work of the ministry. And so, like for us, we've got team leads that are volunteers that, hey, this is you guys. You care for that team. You care for those people. I'm here for you if you need anything. But I think for so long, I felt guilty about that. Like, man, these people have full-time jobs and all this. And it's like, no, I'm not asking them to do something less than. I'm asking them to do something greater than. Like, this is an opportunity for them to get to rise.
Say that again. Explain that, because that was one of those Britton Bishop little nuggets that you've had from the time you came here as a wet behind the ears rookie, that you see like there's wisdom beyond your years. I always feel the same way, that I'm asking too much, or I know people in the congregation are kind of like they're trying to get something from me. But you just said, I'm not asking you. You said you're asking them to do something greater than. Can you flesh that out?
Yeah. Well, I think often you'll have somebody that's, well, they're busy, right? They own this business and they're doing this, and this. How could I ever ask them to wipe noses in the nursery? That's so much lower. And it's like, doesn't Jesus teach us that the lowest is the highest? And so I think that for us to truly, for our congregations, for us as leaders to understand the fullness of what Jesus has for us, is it's to get people as low as they can go so they can experience the glory and the lift that comes from serving Jesus. And I think that, I mean, there's people that, I mean, you and I won't name his name, but because he hates being mentioned and everything, but I mean, that they don't need to do anything else probably ever again. Their obedience quota, and it's like, but they still want to play in the band.
Yeah.
They still want to show up and serve. They still want to do these things. And I think that that's an example of, man, I'm not sure I run a multi-million-dollar company or I lead these teams of all these people. But serving here is the greatest honor of my life. And I think sometimes we don't allow people to experience that because we try to sell them
Hmm.
on something instead of realizing, like, I don't need to sell serving. This is an opportunity. This is, I mean, like Foster says, this isn't an obligation. This is an opportunity. And like, I have an opportunity for you to be a part of the greatest movement that's ever occurred. And it's happening
Let's
at our
go.
church every week. And either you want in or not, but that doesn't make it any less. Like, sure, serving in the kids' men or leading a seventh grade boys small group, to a lot of people, that seems less than. But in Jesus' kingdom, this might be the greatest thing you could ever do. And what I think people fail to understand often, and this just kind of illustrates the point, is like what we would consider the best in our kingdom, Jesus made it the roads in his.
Yeah.
Right.
Well
I mean,
done.
like all of
Yeah.
us are just chasing gold and treasure
Yep.
and all this stuff.
Yep.
And Jesus, I mean, the picture that we see in Revelation 21 is, no, it's crap.
It's pavement.
Because that's what the roads were back then.
Yeah.
Was just packed down crap. And that's what gold is. It's just packed down crap now
Yeah.
because I've got something better for you. So it's like, what are you living for? I think that's the question. And you set people up to win. You give them a vision for that. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've learned is how you hear it. It's like it's a buzzword, especially in the things that you and I read and the people we're around is, I just got to cast vision for this and all this stuff. And it's like, no, they're right. Like, sure, you don't have to say vision so breathy, but like vision is important.
Vision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or basics.
But yeah. But I think letting people see themselves in the greater picture of what Jesus is at work. Like, sure, we've got a guy here that serves at our 180 student ministry, youth ministry on the midweeks, and he runs our cafe team. And it could just be making fraps and smoothies and giving out candy, Mountain Dew, and pizza every week. It could be that. But instead, he views it as, man, I'm creating an atmosphere where a student can come and feel loved, feel cared for. This might be the only place where they get somebody that knows them, that knows their name, that knows what they want. And then they're going to go in and through that lens, they're going to experience the same love that they experienced at the cafe in a worship service. And then they're going to have it in a small group. So like to the point where he's like, hey, do you know of any like big student conferences that do stuff with cafes that I could go check out? Like, I want to know how we can be doing this better. And it's like, wow, I think you're as good as it gets, man. But like, there's that level of intentionality but you would never know until you say, hey, you're a part of this.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is you got to share those wins. The wins can't just be the person who prayed with the student to receive Christ, but that kid who received Christ also came in and had a first-time guest cafe coupon, and they got pizza and a Frappuccino and a Mountain Dew because Kyle doesn't care about the budget. And so that kid feels loved and appreciated before they ever get in there. And that's all Jesus, isn't it? Like, that's all
a guy who gets
experiencing. Yeah, 100%.
That's a guy who gets the thing you said at the beginning. Didn't Jesus teach, get as low as you can go? That's how to become the greatest. Instead of, hey, this person's too busy. They're too. I mean, that guy gets it.
Yep.
I wonder if it's probably better to give that guy to cast the vision than at least me. So
100%.
No, that's huge. So let's move to if you don't mind, because I don't think we've talked about this podcast yet. You got to lead or co-lead with your wife your first missions trip.
Yeah.
You went to Romania, I believe. Is that correct?
We did.
Yeah. Can you just give us a quick rundown of what you were doing and what you learned on that trip?
Yeah, that one was a fun trip. We took 15 or 16 students.
Are these high school
Romania.
or college? Sorry.
All high school students.
Okay.
Yep. All high school students to Romania. It was Hope and I, and then we had 2 assistant team leaders as well. And so we partnered with an organization called New Hope Eurasia, and just kind of doing gospel ministry in kind of that old Soviet region of Eastern Europe, kind of that, what's the word? Something block.
The Eastern bloc. Yes.
Yeah. And so, got to go spend some time there. It was cool just experiencing just the cultural aspect, all of that. But I think for our students, it was seeing just a level of like, what's the word I'm going to use here? Just what like these people were just so like, I can't even put words to it. Like just you've been held in a standard for so long that they'd lost complete hope.
Hmm.
Like just the state of hopelessness that was happening just as you interact with people. It's a very just cold, dark, and it's all from kind of that Soviet regime that was throughout there. And so for our students to step into something like that and to see that hopelessness exists in
Hmm.
this world, that there are people that haven't experienced or even seen or heard of the hope that comes from Jesus. And so seeing that was hard, working them through that. I mean, there was Ukrainian refugees that we were interacting with. So these are, I mean, having a conversation with a woman who is, it's her mom, their little girl, I mean, the most beautiful girl and family, and they live in like a housing project in the middle of nowhere, Romania. And she goes, my husband was a doctor. Like life was good. And now their life is in complete shambles. She doesn't know if her husband's alive, and their little girl's 2 years old and still loves
Hmm.
princesses and all this stuff. And so just seeing that, I think, was culturally good for our students to maybe, I don't know, I think you understand, like you
Hmm.
just, there's a lot that we take for granted. And so it was good from that standpoint, as well as, I mean, our students, like they were, before we left, they were equipped to share their stories, share God moments. And I think we had a lot of kids who are like, man, my story can't impact students or people here. Like these people have been through so much. And for God to open doors for students to share about just freedom that they've experienced, the abuses that they've been through, and how Jesus has brought hope and healing into those moments. Hope sharing about some of her experiences, Hope preaching the gospel
Yeah,
for the first time at
you gotta tell that story. I think that's
yeah,
okay to share. Like, how is it that like Hope didn't plan on being a preacher of the
no,
gospel? Yeah. So how did that
absolutely
break
not.
down? Because
Yeah,
aren't
so we
like you and
did,
the students doing like kind of like an after like a VBS
we were doing like a
program?
block, we were doing like block parties at
Okay.
night in this housing project.
Okay.
And so we would just like, there's a huge concrete soccer field in the middle of this housing project. And we would just kind of blitz it at night with all the games and ice cream and a Bible story, just all the things. But while we were doing that, we decided to do like 2 nights. We did ladies' night for some of these Ukrainian refugees, excuse me. And
For like the
so
moms,
one
right?
for the moms, yeah.
And I think you had
And
told me like
so
all of their husbands or boyfriends or whatever, they're in Ukraine fighting. They don't know if they're dead or
yep,
alive. And so you've got the
100%.
kids that you're serving, but then you've got these moms. Yeah. Go for
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And so they're talking through it, planning it, like they're going to do mani pedis and face masks and just bless the socks off these women. And we're sitting there and the day of, and you just hear Hope say, hey, they just asked me to preach. And I was like, okay, better them than I. And I was like, so what are you going to do? And she goes, well, I think I have to. But she's freaking out. I got to share her
Yeah.
testimony, all this stuff, working through all these like different things. But yeah, she preaches the gospel and women gave their lives to Christ for the first time. She
Wow.
crushed it apparently. Shared just her story within all of it. It was just really cool just seeing like her put in that situation. There's a confidence that came out of her coming off that trip. And two, I mean, mission trips, it's like an incubator for relationship. Like we've got just so much depth with those students that were on that trip. There's
Oh,
something
wow.
about
Yeah.
eating weird food and doing all this stuff that just
Taking
makes
a
you
risk, man.
so much closer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, having to sprint through the Amsterdam airport because you land and you've got 15 minutes to make
Oh,
it to your
gosh.
flight that's already started boarding. And it's like, man, the nicest airport. I will come on here and say publicly, and I don't feel bad about this. The Paris airport is the worst airport
I
in
agree.
the world.
I agree. I
In
hate
the
that
world.
place. Yeah. Charles de Gaulle. Forget
Chicago
about it.
O'Hare puts it to shame.
And that's sad because Chicago O'Hare sucks. Sorry, Chicago. Yeah.
It's
You and I
awful.
in
And it's
Itinerant
the
World, we've
worst.
talked about this. Yeah.
Yes.
Paris
And
ain't nice.
so,
Lily and I missed
no,
a flight there, and I almost got me kicked out of Forge. Okay.
I'm
So,
telling you,
yeah, it was not
it's
cool. Yeah.
terrible. And
Yeah.
so, like, we're in that airport for 6 hours, sitting on a couch with the kids, and every 2 minutes you just hear, welcome to Terminal 2.
Yeah.
You're like, if I hear Terminal 2 one
Yeah.
more time,
Oh,
I'm going to
nasty.
do it on somebody. But no, so that was fun, just sprinting through the airport, all that stuff. I think there's something about missions, getting out of your comfort zone, serving other people that, I mean, it kind of, it's like, I'm like, it's an incubator. It speeds up your discipleship process. Like there's just that focus time with discomfort. Like it's really good. And I think it's necessary for students to experience. That's why I think the spring break trip we do with that Tab Youth does is just all that stuff is key for people. Even, I mean, for people listening to this, like, what does it look like for your family to serve somebody else and do it together and watch how much your relationships deepen in that? What is it like? There's just so much that happens, like students that I'd never talked to before that now you'd think like I've known them for 15 plus years. And so just really cool stuff like that. So,
yeah, I was playfully wondering if you had to remind Hope that, in that moment when it's like, yeah, they need me to preach. And she's like, what? After the fact, did you remind her that, so you gave the Lord your yes?
Yeah, no, I did.
Because full disclosure is Britton Bishop that made that part of the lexicon of our church. And so
no, I didn't.
I'll give you credit, but Hope's not going to give you credit.
We brought it up later.
Yeah, maybe, but later.
No, and then there's been some moments where like we're doing a panel here in a few weeks in our relationship series, and she's going to hop on it and be up there with us talking about relationships and sex and dating and all that stuff. And so it's like the Lord used that, I think, to kind of just crack the door open just enough. And I think over time, I mean, you've met Hope. She's hilarious. She's brilliant. She's a great storyteller. She's a good communicator.
Yeah.
And I think that there's just, you just get convinced for so long that you're something you're not, that
right.
Sooner or later it's going to break down and she'll crush. She'll be better than me. I'll carry her Bible around. So,
well, there's a theme in that because you were also talking about missions and you were talking about serving. And then you even threw out the challenge of, as families, what does it look like for you as a family to go on a mission trip? Or what does it look like for you as a family to serve together? All of those, whether it's Hope in Romania, whether it's you when you first came to Buckley, and then when you first, or then you moved back to Tulsa, or a family going on an individual or family deciding to serve or do a mission, it all comes back to the yes thing. I mean, it's 100%. That's what Christ wants from us. And to see that played out, that's pretty cool when it happens. Because
it's so cool.
Because once you give him your yes, it's easier to give him your yes again. And
it works the same way.
Yeah.
On the other end is the more you say no, the easier it gets to say no. And then so many people, I think, like get to a moment where it's like, what? Where am I? Where is God? And it's like, he hasn't moved. You did.
Right.
You're the one who kept saying no, and you're waiting for him to move on to the next thing, right?
Right.
And he's not going to move on. He's back at that yes he asked for a long time ago. Remember that sin you didn't want to confess? It's back there. Go confess it. Watch how your life explodes after that. And I think that's, still the resounding just throughout. That's what we talk about with our staff all the time. We're in a series right now with our students talking about what does it look like to be a witness? What does it look like to reach those around you? But we sat in a staff meeting and I asked the question, so when's the last time any of us did it? Right. It's easy to want this for the students, but for me, with the neighbor that I know is far from God, because we talk at the dog park and I hear the things he says, like, am I going to be a witness to him? Do the waitresses know that Hope and I are Christians by the time we leave the restaurant? Right. And that doesn't mean we need to be weird, but we are going to pray for our food. And it's really easy to say, hey, we're going to pray for our food right here. It would be cool if we prayed for you. Is there something going on? And I think often we can want those things for our students, but what we talk about with our team here is like, no, we go first. Everything we're going to ask our students to do, we're going first. And so within our relationships, what does it look like to have a healthy relationship? So as we're talking about dating and health and viewing relationships through the right lens, that allowing the love that Christ has shown you to show through other people. And that's how we navigate all that. Is that true in my marriage? Like, is Hope experiencing the love of Christ reflected through me, or is she getting the leftovers? And so those are the things that we talk about often. And I think that as we seek to become more healthy, what we're seeing is that our students are stepping into environments where that's not a foreign concept. And what we're seeing is that there's an uptick in us going first. The students kind of buy into that sooner. So
no, that's huge. And I think that's true for ministers and those they're ministering to, whether you're in youth ministry or children's ministry or adult ministry, but it's also true with parents. That's the classic, do as I say, not as I do. But talk a little bit about that, because my next question is, what are you seeing right now with students? And that obviously must be something that's on your heart with students. It's not just with students, it's with adults as well. But what does it look like to be a witness? Besides hey, we're going to get on bikes with little, black pants and white long sleeve shirts and ties and, go knocking on doors. What are some of the things you're trying to communicate with that series that you could share with us?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for our students, the kind of the four aspects that we talked about was one, we gave them a vision for witnessing. So just this idea that, man, like this was Jesus's idea. This is it. Like the old Forge motto, like this is plan A, there is no plan B. Like we're the extent of how he's planning on reaching this world. It's the Jesus through us, the Holy Spirit in you. He's equipped you, he's given you places to go. And so just really allowing the students to see themselves within that story. I think often you can kind of disconnect from those things. I'm just a kid. I can't. And so
or I don't know anything.
That was the first step. Yeah, exactly. And so then we talked about what does it mean to be a spirit empowered witness? And so what does it look like to allow the Spirit to help you navigate these things, to ask, hey, today when I step into my school, will you give me eyes to see? Will you give me ears to hear the needs that are around me? Week 3, we talked about what does a witness do in the everyday? What's an everyday witness look like? They're interruptible. They're all these things. And then the last one was being witnesses in the face of opposition. And we talked about the different types of opposition we experience, whether it be ourselves, those around us, the religious, just all these different oppositions that we can experience, and then dialed it back to most of the time it's just us. You're the biggest opposition to you being a witness is yourself. So just work through that stuff with the students.
Meaning your own insecurity or fear?
Right. Yeah. Your fear, your insecurity. Yeah. And that's, I don't know enough. I'm not good enough. Shame that the enemy's brought into your life, all that stuff. Just get out of your own way. Just be faithful in the everyday. It's do the little things and watch how the little things become the big things over time. And so, but I think what we're seeing mostly with Gen Z and Gen Alpha is they're not interested in big. They're not interested in that doesn't mean those things aren't necessary. I say that, but they want relationships. They want to know people care about them, that they love them, that they listen to them, that they're leading them. And that's kind of like at the end of the day, it's all we're trying to do is just put students in a space where they can be known. And that's what they want to invite their friends to. They want their friends to experience that when they come there and they're like, man, they knew I was coming, right? When I showed up, somebody knew my name and they cared about me. They knew enough that I played a game this week and they asked what happened at the game. And then they want to be told the truth. I think we just live in a culture that can't tell the truth. That's just kind of the world we live in. There's so many different versions of it. And so what I've found is when you're just authentically just telling the truth to the next generation, they buy into that because it's the only place where they can get it. Right. And so that's been kind of the other aspect that me, I preach the same way no matter where I am. And so a lot of people would think, well, that's not very attractional for students. They love it. We're really honest to them. We preach to the oldest in the room. So everything we do student ministry wise is geared to the 12th grader that's influential. Everything we do in our J-High ministry is to the 8th grader that's influential. We're not going to dumb it down. We're going to use words like sanctification and justified because they can also say frappuccino. And so you're not going to tell me one of those is more difficult to understand than the other. That was a
bishopism because they can say, if they can say frappuccino, they can handle propitiation. Yeah. Well played.
So,
that's where I was going to go next. Where we're at. I was going to go there next is how often are you preaching?
Yeah.
And where?
So we've got a really solid team. I'm probably once, twice a month. And then Pastor Greg jumps in.
Is that killing you?
No, because I preach every week in our leaders meeting.
Okay.
So, we got a leaders meeting before with our volunteer team in there. So get to give vision there. I think what I've learned too is there's opportunity for days. I can go talk to a sports team today if I want to, just text one of the coaches. So no, it's allowed me to draw more depth out of those sermons, to kind of craft them a little bit more. I'm getting way more road messages out of it because I'm getting to spend a little bit more time in it. And then I still am kind of over spending time in all that content. So I might be preparing the points for a sermon that I'm not preaching, but I don't know. It's cool being a part of the team. Pastor Greg is the man. PG's legit. Just watching a 57, 58-year-old up there communicating to teenagers. And it's like, he doesn't try to be cool. Like he's authentic. He's awesome. Like he just the things that I mean, we don't record our services because it's like, no, we're gonna get after it. And it's just I don't know. It's been a joy getting to just learn from him and experience what hospitality is in student ministry. Just him and his wife are very Foster and Laura Christie-esque. I mean, they're the most Southern. They're from Kentucky, and but yeah, I've learned a ton just from how he leads. He's I think my favorite quote from him so far is, "I'll never apologize for something I didn't do." And so there was a meeting where I said I'm sorry in a meeting, and he goes, "Why?" And I was like, "Well, my bad." He goes, "Stop apologizing." I was like, "Yes, sir. Sorry." And he stopped.
You apologize again?
Yeah. And so, no, there's a level of just boldness and leadership that he has that I'm learning a ton from, but also just that authenticity is what sells in today's world. So he's himself, he gets after it, but it's been a ton of fun just getting to learn from him.
Cool. So on the same topic of preaching, you still preaching on the road? And if so, like, what was your favorite event that you've done in 2024? It could be the biggest, it could be the smallest, it could be the weirdest. Yeah.
Yeah. I took the summer off. So Hope and I just agreed with the move and all that stuff. Just be present, be at home, just kind of dig in some roots, get established. And last summer I was an idiot and traveled way too much, and said yes to too much. So I took the summer off with some Forge stuff, but I think probably my favorite would be Man Up for 2024, if I'm being honest.
Right.
Getting to come hang out with you guys. I'm doing an FCA tonight for a college around here, so going to go hang out with them, tell them a story about an ostrich. So that's the go-to FCA
There's
message.
No ostriches in Tulsa? There's
an ostrich in Job, though.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so you're going to Job for that one.
Yeah,
that's cool.
No, it's just those little things. I'm going to California in 2025 to speak, going to, I think that's it. Yeah. Coming to the tab to do a Christmas message or something like that.
Oh, you want to do the Christmas message because we're in Revelation. The Christmas dragon. I love it. You were just in San Diego, though. Was that for seminary?
San Diego. No, we were out there visiting some churches, visiting Mariners and North Coast. And
nice. North Coast is a good church. When you said Mariners,
it's cool.
When you texted me about Mariners, I was like, are the Mariners playing the Padres? That's what I thought.
No, the Padres, we went to a Padres game and they played the Giants.
Okay. Yeah.
And so we went to that. No, North Coast is cool. It's a crazy church model, though.
Yeah, it is.
Like 8 different services going on one campus the planning center alone, Matt, I'm telling you, if you thought you didn't have hair before, I know he can hear me still.
Yes, he can. He's laughing. Yeah. No, they have multi-site right on the main campus where they have different styles of service. Then they have multi-site campuses around the city. I think it's like 26 total, 26 venues
and the
or
most
something like that.
Chris Brown thing ever, I show up and he's preaching in shorts and flip-flops.
Of course he is. It's San Diego.
Hey, they're in a Revelation series as well, and it's called like the Farewell Tour or something like that. And the intentionality to the stage design, his pulpit was a road case.
Oh man, wow!
That they like rolled out, like it was cool, just that aspect of it. But yeah, he was in shorts and flip flops.
Well, if it makes you happy, at our last fight night, John Williams got up on stage and he'd been working outside all day and he's speaking and he did a great job. I'll tell you about it later offline, but he was in shorts and he goes, "Well, I already broke the rule here at the tab. Apparently I'm in shorts. I didn't even think about it." But I'm like, yeah, when you're as old as John, you just kind of do whatever you want.
I like that when I first got to the tab, it was he's as old as Noah, but now you've switched it to you're as old as John, which implies that he's older than Noah at this point.
Exactly. He is. This is true.
He's a legend. Yeah.
Well, what else do you got? I mean, what are there any challenges or anything that you would, from something you've learned that you would, because a lot of our podcast audience, obviously they're from the tab. We know you would love you. There are some new faces now that if we were to bring you back, they'd be like, "Who's that guy?" But because of your standing with us, any message that you're like, "Man, if this is what I'd love to say to the tab right now."
Yeah.
That's just kind of on you. Go for it.
Yeah. You follow Jesus, not anyone else. And so when you think about the Tab, I know there's been a lot of transition. There's been a lot of shifts. We got a third campus rolling. Manastee's been through the gamut and just commissioned 2 God-fearing, incredible Jesus servant type dudes. In the midst of all of that, how you go to church ultimately is how you follow Jesus. And so don't rely on John or Adam Ray or David or Chris Johns or Isaac over at Cadillac to build out your relationship with Jesus. It's not up to them to get you to serve. If you want your church to be something that it's not, it's on you, because all of us are a part of the body. And so my encouragement would be everything you've had a question about, or there's anything that's going on, maybe you're the solution Jesus put there for a reason. And so get in the game, stop thinking about it, talking about it, be honest with yourself, be honest with the people around you, because the church is needed in Northern Michigan more than ever. We all know that 2024, 2025, there's tension in Northern Michigan, politically, all that stuff. And Manistee, Buckley, Traverse City, Cadillac need the church. But they don't need the building. They need the people to all get on the same page and to sell out to what Jesus has called you to love God, love people, and make disciples. And nowhere in the midst of that does it say, follow John Vermilya, follow Adam Ray. No, you submit to God, you submit to the leadership he's put in place, and you love the crap out of people. Who cares who's in charge? Because all they do is unlock the doors anyways. It's the Spirit of God that's doing the work. The coffee's still hot. Keep going, keep plugging in. Your communities need you. They don't need your pastors. They need you. So pray for them more than you talk about them, and get after it and quit being soft. Run the dang ball.
Yeah. Come on, coach.
So, that's been the motto since I've moved here, has been run the dang ball. I tell myself that every morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stop trying to find a shortcut.
Yeah.
Stop trying to, well, we're going to do this to take up. Nope. Run the dang ball.
That was a good word.
Every single day.
That was a good word. And I didn't ask you to say that, did I?
Nope.
If we're lying, we're dying.
But I've been wanting to say it to a bunch of people on Facebook.
Oh, yes. Let's write that down. Hey, can we make that the clip, Matt? I mean, we got to have something like that. You know, that's pretty cool.
And I love you guys, and that's why I said it.
Yes, and we love you, bro. So as we're wrapping up here, you got a Yukon River knife?
I don't have a Yukon River knife.
Yeah, you should probably look into that. Yukon River Knives has become a sponsor of this show. Yes, because I have a Yukon River knife. Yukon River Knives have showed up, and people are buying Yukon River Knives right now because they found out it supports Alaskan Inland Mission. There was a guy. There was a guy that ordered 7. So there was an order that said, I heard about Yukon River Knives on the Tab podcast, and he ordered 7, bro. So it's happening.
Awesome. Something that happens with a lot of people that have kind of the remote podcast thing is they mail their guests a gift.
Ooh.
And so if they're a real sponsor, then I think there'd be like a fresh Tab merch, maybe something in there with a Yukon River knife.
You just called me out.
Maybe
some gummy bears,
Cherry Republic,
some high
stuff,
some high chews,
can of Vernors.
I see where you're going with this. So that was actually my next question: is what do you miss most about Northern Michigan besides church, people, friends, relationships? Just on a flesh level, like what do you miss?
Yeah, flesh level, the weather.
Right
now. Hope and I just the other day I said, man, I miss Northern Michigan fall.
Okay.
Like the drive from Manistee to Buckley over the mountain when the leaves looks like the trees are on fire. I miss that. Miss that a lot. Miss the burners.
We can send you a case
I'm
of
going to be
burners.
honest.
Might have to
we have it here. It's just
you got a Vernors? Yeah, it's different. Though. It's different.
Food-wise, I'm going to be honest.
Tulsa,
I'm eating.
Dude, I would be the fattiest McFatty if I lived in Tulsa.
So,
when we were there with you, when Darcy and I were there with you, it's like, the food every day. Just stop.
Coffee scene's legit. I do miss Mundo's. I don't miss Adam Sharp. So I want that on the record. On the record to show.
As I'm looking at a picture of you and Adam as the stepbrothers right now, across from me, underneath the camera, it hasn't moved. And there's one in my
Yeah.
office too. We keep finding those stupid pictures. He's in the checkered. Well,
That's
you're both
because
in the
last
matching
time-
checkered sweater
Because
vest.
last time I was there, I made 50 copies of it and spread them across the building.
Well, our admin was wondering why we lost all the color in the printer. And now we know
Take
why.
it out of my paycheck.
It's full confession.
Take it out of Adam's paycheck. I miss Matt Hughes.
Well, he's right here.
I
I was
do.
going to ask Matt. Matt, do you have a question for Britton before we let him go? He says he misses you so much. There might be a tear that's happening. He doesn't have a question, but he misses you so much right now.
I miss the Chinese buffet with Matt Hughes. Matt, if you had one song to show me to convince me to be a U2 fan, what song would you show me, my friend? That's all I have to say. Is he laughing?
He's laughing. He can't even
Okay,
speak.
good.
Yeah. Now, I do have a message from you from the Jedi Gandalf, Tim Burgess.
Timothy. I
yes.
just talked to him the other day.
Yes, I know. You were talking on the phone, and apparently this is the question. He wants to know, did you really get pulled
going
over
public.
by a cop, or were you just trying to get off the phone because you were tired of talking with him?
No, I got pulled over.
What was it for? Was it a moving violation of some sort?
I was moving faster than I should.
Okay, you were speeding. So I've trained you well then.
Yes.
There's
I was
man's law,
speeding.
there's God's law.
I was speeding on the phone with Tim, processing some things, and there are moments. There are some moments where I'm like, what would Tim do? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do the opposite. But there are some other moments where I'm like, what would Tim do here? I need to call him.
Yes.
And those happen more often than not. I ripped both you guys off this last weekend. I did a wedding and just said a bunch of John and Tim-isms, so it was good.
Well, remember what we've always said: if the bullet fits,
Shoot it.
shoot it. So,
Absolutely.
did you get a ticket or warning?
I got a ticket.
So that comes out of the golf budget.
Mm.
Oh, that hurts.
It does. Yeah.
That hurts.
Yeah. A lot of pain, a lot of suffering, but
No, that's Notre Dame football, of which I'm sporting it. Thank you for not going too deep there, but we successfully lost to Northern Illinois. But Britton,
it's okay.
we love you.
Sucks.
Thanks for being the first man, right? Which, by the way, is a great movie about Apollo 11 and Neil Armstrong. And for us doing our first remote podcast, there were learnings. It was fun.
Yeah.
It's always great to see your face. You look like $1 million.
Trying
to. We'd love for you to come back. I know maybe we're not going to put that kind of pressure. We're not going to put that kind of pressure. But if there's like Thanksgiving, Christmas, you're around and there's a day, just give us a heads up so we can get the whole team together and just have a Britton and Hope, we love you fest. Dinner's on us type of thing. And I'll check into the Yukon River Knife Fest. But
I don't know what that's about. I got Adam Ray a job and he can't send me a knife. I mean, I think that needs to surface. It's time, right? It's time that I tell everybody the truth.
That just happened.
And at the end of the day, in the middle of wherever the crap we were in Michigan,
yes,
I got done golfing with the man, the myth, the legend, Adam Ray.
Yep.
And John said, "How was it?" And I said, "He's our next executive pastor."
Yes, you called it.
And here we are.
You called
and
it.
Here we are. And he didn't send me a knife, a letter, half his paycheck, nothing. I don't know. Yeah.
I'm dying. We are not cutting that out. We're leaving that. We got to leave it. Britton, you're the best, dude. You're
sweet.
the best. Yeah. You're always a part of our family. Wherever God takes you, it doesn't matter. Love you like a brother. And
sir.
I know the team feels the same way. So thanks for
Love
being
you
the
guys
first.
too, except for Adam.
Except for Adam. Yes. And
Sure.
that's, we're working on, you're working on forgiveness.
It's not a forgiveness issue. He just really he sucks.
Hey, he's got a daughter now. So
I
maybe
know.
that'll make
gonna
him
be
more
awesome.
likable for you. Maybe it'll make him more likable. All right. Well, Tab
Sweet.
family, please share it, especially someone that you know needs to hear something that was on this podcast or just likes Britton Bishop, just wants to know how our boy's doing. As I mentioned, God always stretches and challenges me just in my conversations with you, and I know you do the same for our church family. And so like it, share it. Algorithms are real. They've been telling me this to do this all the time, Britton. It's not just your thing now. It's like reminding
No
people.
free shout outs.
Yeah, no free shout outs. And so, if you're one of those people we shouted out and we didn't get anything free, Chick-fil-A, let's go. I'll even take one of those pimento chickens if I have to. which it was. I'd probably do the banana instead. But yeah, until next time, Tab family, this is Britton Bishop, the founder from Tulsa, Oklahoma, Lord Matthew Corey Hughes, our executive producer, and John Vermilia. We're signing off.